Budget Subcommittee meeting, December 6, 2023 at 7:01 p.m. Roll call. Marissa, you have board members and guests. I'd like to hear a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the minutes.
You're on this committee?
Yeah, there's 5 of us.
Yeah, I just wasn't there.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So someone that was there for approval of the minutes.
So move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public participation, Josh?
Done.
All right, so discussion next steps, capital plan 24-25. I think it was, we obviously just discussed it, and facilities, Dean presented it to us to discuss it budget. And at this point, Michael, I'm not sure if we're not in a position to move it to the full board as is. Did you want to do it? Are you ready to move it?
I think we would be ready with those, the one modification that we know we have to make that we brought up in facilities to the, that was gonna be the adjusted amount, I
The
believe.
fire alarm, yep,
Yeah,
at Southwest, which you'll
Correct.
just update.
And the turf amount, once we see how much we have in.
Okay,
So if the board, if it's at the board's pleasure to say, as long as we make those 2 adjustments to make the recommendation to move forward, I think it'd be an appropriate time to do it, especially at the timing of the next board meeting.
okay, all right, great. Everybody on board with that? Jeff,
I
you
just
have a
have one
question?
question. The 5.9 million or 7.5 million ask that is in this packet. 3.4 of it or so is a CG&S possible reimbursement. So not understanding this process entirely, why do we go to this? I know we're technically on the hook for the 7.5 if we approve it, but how do you make the case to this? If we don't, what happens to that 3.5 million when we do get it back?
They get it back.
They get it back.
But so do we have a way to relay or portray that to them to make it not look like we're not really asking you for 7.5?
Well, yeah, that's what they would see, it'd be in black and white to them.
To the
Full
public, sometimes I
transparency.
think to the public, that perception, right, is that they
Yeah.
ask for 7.5 million, we've only given them $1 million every year. We're not really asking for 7.5. We are, but we're really expecting to spend 4.
Well, that's assuming that everything is covered under the OSCG&R, or if we get grants, I think we have to go into it under the assumption that it's not. I don't think it's
a
really
tough
in our
spot.
best interest to go say, okay, we're gonna get this money, because we don't know that. So we are, full transparency is, this is what we need to make these,
And those
corrections.
reimbursements go back to the city directly, not just so that.
Yeah, they go back to
the.
they go back to the local taxpayer, right? Because we can't bond, only the city can. The city either allocates funds or bonds projects, and then state reimbursements go back to the local taxpayer via the city. But you have to encumber the entire cost first. That's why we have to ask them.
Responsible for it, but
Right.
just in that ask to the public, so the public understands that, we are asking for 7.5, but we're really only expecting to spend, if everything goes according to plan, 4. I think that part to the public is important at some point to garner support for us at these meetings.
it is, I think to just mention it, that these are the numbers, but I don't think we would hone in on that and drill that number into their head, again, not knowing if we're gonna get it.
Agree.
I think it's here, that's in writing, this is what we're presenting, and that's it. All right, so we'll do that. If everybody's in favor, we'll move it to the full board for the 18th.
Yes.
And then the turf field we talked about, we're just gonna find out how much money is in the account, where the account is, and how much time left before the 10 years is up. And then hopefully we'll all have that retained somewhere.
And the contract.
If we can find a contract.
Right, if there's any sort of stipulated
Yeah.
maintenance agreement.
Right.
I don't know, should we reach out to Michelle Cook, like Glenn suggested?
For,
She might know off the top of her head. If no, she
I've
doesn't
talked to
know.
her, she doesn't.
Okay, all right.
we could find that. I mean, Scott will have that
Yeah.
conversation. I think we'll be okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, monthly financials. Scott, do you want to go through first, and then we'll open it up for questions? We usually address what our
Sure.
questions are.
Just stop me anywhere you want.
Okay.
I think at this point of the year, there's nothing really to call out. I'll just go through things and explain some certain things, and just please stop me anywhere you want.
Okay.
So if So just one of the, about halfway down, 5112.27 on the front, on the first page.
Behavioral therapy?
Yes, so so we made the reclass, so there was somebody in there that belonged somewhere else, so now it looks to
It's
where
all-
it should be, so.
Okay, perfect.
Given the time, I could make all those changes.
Mhm,
And if you go down to 5112.9, which is longevity,
mhm.
just if someone wanted to know why there's 81,000, so each week we make longevity payments to like custodians and some other, but once a year, the bulk of the longevity payments are done, and that was just completed this year, so that's why we see
Or jump.
81,000 in this month, so it's a one time a year and gets us up to 62%. If we just go down a little bit more, because I know Mr. Putnam wants to know about our substitute salaries and our clerical salaries, so I got a little bit of, got a little granularity behind these. So the first one is the substitute salaries, so the total year, so that was, part of it was, these are retired paras that are subbing for paras at Southwest. So that's just the number, so.
Is
it's
that
due-
part of the, that's for, I don't know if they follow the same as the teacher, the same plan as the teacher retirement.
Yeah.
They do, the paras are, okay, so it's the same, okay,
days.
yep, okay.
So that's those 30-day people.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the substitutes for the clerical, I know we look like where we spent there, but there's, so that was the superintendent's interim secretary a little bit, not
Yeah, we
recently,
talked about
but,
that last month.
okay, and then also a retired secretary who filled in at Vogel Wetmore is the amount that was spent this month, so that's where that money's being spent. I don't have anything else on that page. If we flip to page 2, we wanted to know about, if we go down to 5121.15 tutor special ed. So I don't know, I can't go into specifics because it might identify the student, but we weren't aware of this need before we budgeted.
Yep,
So
right.
we are aware of this need now, and that's why.
So, all right. Going forward, I don't know, Jeff, did you submit questions to him, maybe? Is that where this is coming from?
I just sent to you, nobody else.
All right, because I didn't get, you don't have to get into that kind of detail for that
Yeah.
special ed stuff.
Only thing I did was
Yeah.
send to you per
Okay.
protocol.
All right,
No, it was just
thank
me
you.
doing.
Okay.
They're pre-flagging.
Any questions that were
All right.
forwarded on to me were already on my list anyway,
Okay,
so,
thank you. All
no cheat sheets, no cheat.
right,
If we go down to 5123, which is a couple lines down, the long-term certified subs. So I just want everybody to understand that we have 11% absenteeism, and we have the most FMLA leave that we've had in years. So that is directly correlated to that line item. So, we'll keep that in mind as we enter budget season, but.
well, no, I think, Michael, I think you would agree that we shouldn't be budgeting for overtime because people aren't coming into work. We need to resolve the problem with people not coming into work.
I think that's going to be the talking points and the starts, right? I think that's going to be what we look at and hopefully get that number down and decrease so we don't have to go and raise that number even
Right.
higher.
Okay.
And I think, through some different ideas that have been shared and talked about and some policies that have been talked about and that are going to come up again, I think that's going to address that issue as well.
And then,
I just want to make a point, though. He did mention how it's the largest amount of FMLA time, and that's not anything, no policy in our district can
No,
go
we
over
can't do
that.
anything
So
with it. No.
that, it'd be interesting with a percentage of that total that is of FMLA as compared to other types of absences, because I want to make sure that we can't touch that. That's,
No, and I think distinguish that, and
Okay.
Kim makes that distinction.
okay.
There's no question that FMLA is outside of that. Yeah, we have subs, but I don't think it's falling in your overall absentee crisis, right?
Correct. And you're right, Jason, there's no way for us to ever plan FMLA.
Right.
It's a rough, it's a rough guess at best, and only if we had someone continual from year 1 to year 2.
Right.
But even with FMLA laws and regulations, that's very rare unless they went out at the end of said year.
And
But
they
yes,
could-
you're correct.
And they could take intermittent time,
That's
too.
correct. Yep, that is correct.
So when I think of long-term, I think of those FMLAs that are extended, not like the day-to-day or the day-to-day
right, right.
absences.
Yep.
All set?
Go ahead.
Okay, so, and I know we've been looking at the OT wages for clerical and custodian, so I just have a little bit more granularity around the clerical OT, because I spoke to a couple of the schools that attributed to the number for this month, and it really is OT for the admins. They're doing expulsion letters, they're doing urgent matter letters or urgent matters that require them to do letters, and they're also, because of a lot of the substitutes, so they have to do like sub-assignments, so that's taking them time to do too. So those are just some of the factors. And also, I also have a 5-year look back, because I like to see if there's any trends in budgeting or expenses. And, 2021 was way up, 21, 22, 23, which was last year, kind of trended down, and now in 23, 24, we're up again. So I couldn't read anything into that because it went up, down, down, and up. But I do have like a 5-year look back, so we could look back.
Okay.
Now, if we go down to we could turn the page unless somebody has any questions on
Can I
any other
just-
line items
Can
there.
I just ask a question on the 5210.01, the HSA deductible? Only half of that went out, and the other half, but we've already expended 93. We've already used up 93. There's still a half of the other portion that has to be.
It's great.
Is it, or is it already
All
encumbered?
right, which way you going?
Yeah.
Great question, Jason, but that's the encumbered amount, so
So
it's,
that's already anticipating what's going to go out in
Yes.
January.
yes, a purchase order is created
Got it.
with what we think we're gonna spend for the year, and as it comes due, it gets paid.
Got it. Thank you.
So if we go to page 3 of 5, so if we look at 5341 and 534101, and yes, we'll try to change the names if we can. I don't know how to quite do that yet to put our new, the new company we're using. And I just want to know the numbers are what they are because we're only at 30 to 40% fill rates. And, Kim goes into this at all the board meetings, and she's doing a great job by pushing our new vendors. So
Good.
We'll
So you
see.
have now you have somebody new here full-time, right?
That is correct.
They brought it.
So we actually have 2
ESS.
reps.
Oh, there's 2? now?
Yeah, the
Good.
woman who was still here and now has brought in another person in addition.
so she's
So
definitely
they're really
working them.
trying, yeah.
Great.
We have 2 people staffed to try to get it done.
And then we'll get to the sewer again, just because it's a line item. And I'm sorry, I almost have to laugh because this is getting to be really ridiculous. So I went back to the very first time we tried to contact them. And I was telling the superintendent this morning that I actually found some real phone numbers to call. So we called today, and they said they cannot speak to us and that I have to reply by email to an email that we already replied to. So it's
Oh, my God.
it's really, really at the stage of being ridiculous. But so phone calls were made and another email went out today, and I think I wrote down 11:30 or something. So we're just keep following up with them.
Trying to figure out.
Which entity is
Yeah.
this?
So this is Aquarian, I guess, was bought out by somebody, or Aquarian
Eversource
did
was
the.
bought out, or
The Torrington
Torrington
Water Company
purchased by Aquarian.
Okay, and so this is one of the ones that was, so this is what they probably did. They probably realized that there's a problem, and they probably put a reserve somewhere on their books, and the people who call up and tell them there's a problem and deserve a credit, they give it to them, and they're probably hoping that people aren't calling with issues to their bills. Well, we are, and we're due a credit, and we will get it. I just can't promise when, but
So it's Aquarian
it's-
that's ducking your calls.
it
and
is.
avoiding
It's
you.
very,
My son works for
That's what I
Aquarian.
okay.
We'll get it. We'll take care of it.
Anything you do, it's, you know, it's so funny.
Yeah,
We have all the information in front of us and she's like, nope, can't talk to you. And I was like, okay.
wow,
You know, can you elevate it? Can you,
all right,
just
we'll get on that.
whatever I was trying to sell, they were not buying. So we will,
Okay,
we will get that credit at some point. I know that I answered this wrong a few weeks ago, that if we go down to 5440.05 athletic rental, we are, the reason why we're over on that is the YMCA did up their rates a little bit, but I had that all captured in the budgeted amount of the 47,011. What I didn't take into account is I guess we rent a couple buses to take the swimmers to or from an activity or two. So I looked back the past 3 years and there was two buses. I don't have the detail off the top of my head. I didn't write it down. But I could tell you where they bust them.
The transportation shouldn't come out of the athletic rental though, should it?
I'm gonna have to think about that because it has come out the past 3 years. So I'll talk to Michael about that when I have the opportunity.
so that, I'm sorry, back to the YMCA, the bus transports, those are YMCA buses?
No,
Our buses, okay,
they're not but let me get it because I have it.
all right.
I looked it up, I just didn't write it down
Okay,
for
all right.
that
Fair
much
enough.
detail. but-
All right, just curious as to with the extra cost for 2 more buses, if we don't have,
It wasn't that much, but I'll get you the numbers.
all right. Just wondering where they're coming from and, you
Yep,
know,
I'll get it.
nothing crazy. Thanks, Scott.
I think there was a question on summer school, so if we go down to 551001 transport summer school, we had some dollars hit this month, and that's absolutely right. These are for camp. They are July and August. Invoices that were received late in September, we processed them in November, and it actually went, we processed them in October, and the check went out November 2nd, so that explains that one. If we flip over to,
But that's what happens every year.
yeah, yes, sir.
Scott, before you switch the page, the second two lines, 5342 and 534201, is that still Kelly and Delta, or is that also ESS?
That's ESS 2, and Delta is, Laura uses Delta.
Oh, so the Delta,
once
so
in
it's
a
just
while.
the two Kelly services are actually ESS.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Is that, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
Quick question on the landscaping. Last time, I think Glenn and I asked about the landscaping because it seemed
Yes.
odd that it had been paid all the way. It wasn't encumbered. It showed it was an actual transaction for the year. But the contract was broken to 3 pieces of 60 some odd thousand each. We were just gonna check and see what happened.
Nope, nope. Jesperson gets paid once a year.
I didn't.
For the last 3 years, and I checked it all myself, and, yeah, 198, 210, and
And we pay
225,
him up front.
once a year.
That's why he does it for
I guess so. I guess so.
Thank you, Scott.
No, they.
I was a little
once.
surprised myself when I looked
I
it
just
up.
was surprised. That's
Yeah.
That explains so much. We never withheld any money for anything that went wrong. We couldn't because we had already paid him. Right?
Well, it's coming up. That's on one of the sheets that we'll talk
And that's, the
about.
contract says we have to pay him in one payment,
Glenn's
100,
Glenn's,
you got it?
He's looking.
Glenn's already looking.
And that's the one, okay, go ahead. That's the one we want to
Thank
find
you
out
for the
when
clarification.
it
But
expires.
if it
Nope,
even,
that's-
yeah, I think it's coming due, so we would 100% make that arrangement to change it. Yes.
Or put it out to bid.
Correct. but
Yeah, there's another
Either way,
sheet.
the.
Either
the
way, you're
payment-
gonna make,
yeah,
the the
that contract's
language
gone
of the
into bid.
payments
It'll
will
be similar
change.
to our last contract we
Alright.
did, yes,
Yeah. Okay.
yes.
Did somebody else have a question? Did I miss? Okay, if we flip. So. If we go down to 556102 tuition sped expiration, I kind of have to work on some of the words on this because I don't tell you exactly what they are, but this is a charter school tuition and just had an influx of students that chose to go there this year that they weren't anticipating, so it's a little over budget.
Is that line specifically for that charter school?
Yes, I believe so.
I just wasn't sure because sometimes they're
Yeah,
mistaken.
no, good question. I had the same question and they explained it very well to me last night. And then if we go down a little bit to the standalone 5564, which is the tuition line, just to explain that again, that's for our expelled kids. So I don't have anything else on this particular page. Yes, sir.
Licensing.
Or I'm sorry, I gotta,
Oh, go
Sue
ahead.
has to say,
No,
go.
that's,
Sorry
no,
about
go,
that.
really, go ahead, it's fine.
The licensing and warranty contract, there's a reduction
What
there.
number?
I'm sorry, 5530.05.
Good catch, Jason. So if you recall, previous meeting, there was, so we budgeted different last year, and just when we created some of the POs, they went to where they went the following year, so I had to reclass
That's what I figured it was.
a bunch, so that's all, that's a reclass between that and instructional supplies.
So it went into construction?
I'm sorry, no, not instructional supplies. I'm fine, I'm sorry, Ellen, what did you say?
Where did it go into?
Yes, I'm gonna, let me see.
While you look, Glenn found the contract. Or the language.
To be paid in 3 installments, each 1/3 of the contract
53.50.
price. The first installment paid July
Services.
10th. The second installment will be paid September 1st. The third installment will be paid December 1st.
Oh, so we don't have to pay them all at once.
No.
But this would be the third installment, unless he was,
In December, though.
was he not paid in July?
He probably doesn't send a bill and then he sends them all at once in the third
That's
installment.
possible.
Because we're the government and we don't pay stuff unless we get a bill, right? So he probably sends.
But this is November. This is November financial statements.
No,
But it's been a
I looked
comfort,
them up
hasn't it?
for the past 3 years. There's one big payment in July.
Oh, I
That's not
believe
what the
you.
contract says.
It says we
Right,
could triple it.
I thought the
My,
same thing as that.
yeah, my guess is that he just sends one bill around this time and it just gets paid. Nobody.
Contrary to, I mean, you wouldn't know that, Scott.
I
You wouldn't know. You just, if it was paid like that in the past, it is what it is. That's,
I wouldn't
I'm
even
not
approve
saying,
the POs, so.
yeah, no, that's, how would you know?
Right. When you assume your
Assume
vendors
that
are
they
going
were
to bill you
doing-
in good faith.
Right, exactly. All right, so now we know.
But you could still do a PO for the full amount and then pay in installments.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
he's already paid
Yeah.
though, right?
He's paid.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I'm
No,
just
you were
saying,
absolutely right.
Can't wait for
Right.
spring.
It seems like it wasn't
That's what
set
I
up.
do.
Your contract.
We'd
Not
owe
your
him in a
fault.
few weeks anyway.
Yeah, this is not
Not
a,
your fault.
it's not a.
I know, but I still feel responsible.
No, it's, no, really, it's okay.
Ultimately, if the board has problems with its vendors, it is the board's responsibility. We're the ones who vote to enter agreements with these people, and sometimes they just don't go the way we want.
Well, thank you. The license and warranty offset is going to 5350 technical services. So that was the,
Oh, okay.
back for Jason and Ellen. Thank you for the question. That's really all I have. Unless somebody has a question on something else.
Jeff, do you have any other questions? that you
No,
need to
I'm-
cover?
I'm good.
Anybody else? Ellen?
just for clarification,
Yep.
the behavioral therapy 511227 was a reclass. Where did that go? Was it spread out to various?
No. That, it actually went to a grant. So it came out of the general fund altogether.
Very nice.
Okay, good.
Thank you for reminding me. So I knew I had a little bit of good.
Yeah,
I did have one question, I forgot. Okay.
Go ahead, sorry.
I forgot to ask
Go ahead.
about 5624.
56, what page are you on?
It's
Oh, I got it, oil.
Yeah, it stuck out at me. I forgot to send it in my question list. It was double the prior year's expended. It all goes at once. So are we bulk buying oil and then storing it somewhere? It was an odd. It just stuck out at me. I don't always know the answer, but I
No,
asked the
we
question.
are not in an oil contract right now.
So we have spent all 64,000.
We haven't spent any oil money.
Zero, it's not,
Oh, I was reading the wrong column when I was looking at
Okay.
it. My fault.
That's all right.
It's okay.
But we're still in a consortium.
No, we're not.
We're not.
They were too high, so I haven't, it's actually worked. But I do have a question out to the consortium to see where they're at now. So I am
See about
checking on
getting
it.
back
Yeah.
in. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
hard
'cause
with the way that.
I believe in doing it. I
everything
do it at my house, so,
Well, yeah,
because you can
Well-
get caught.
yeah, us too. It's better not being in a consortium
Right.
because they didn't know where it was going either, and they were high, so.
So keeping an eye on it.
Thanks, Scott.
Great.
Looking at the wrong column.
Any other questions on that? Thank you, Scott. Contracts that are ending, renewing.
So that's one of the pieces of paper that I sent around the table.
Contracted services, buses, landscaping, and snow plowing.
Yeah.
Copiers,
So,
copiers?
I didn't put copiers down here because Ally is kind of working on something, and
Okay,
so we're gonna kind of review that because she has a couple ideas, so. But yeah, that's, yeah, copiers. It's a black hole.
I know.
so the buses, this contract, are we in a contract until 26, 27?
We are.
We are?
Mhm.
Okay, and then the landscaping, in a contract with him till 2025?
One more year,
Snow plowing, we just
but we'll
started
change
that.
the PO for next year.
Yeah,
You can keep
For
the
sure.
PO, but just
Yeah,
pay by
adjust it, yes.
contract, yeah.
So those are the only contracted services that we have that,
and we don't have advance anymore for food services, right? That was
Right.
one. Really,
I mean, those are the big ones. I didn't,
we were looking at the significant,
yeah, we have some
Cost.
maintenance, agreements, but an elevator maintenance contract, but
which
they're
is
not.
not, yeah, we're
yeah.
not looking at that, that's extreme.
Elevator,
But you have a
BC, sure
schedule
got
and you know
somebody, right?
what
Yes.
comes up and what,
Yeah, we have quite a few different ones, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
a dollar amount is.
Yeah,
nowhere near-
these are the big ones.
no, right,
Yeah.
right, but you still
And I
have
think
a
that's what we were
schedule
looking
according
at.
to
Yeah,
however many there are.
however, yeah, when they're due, when they're up.
Yep,
and-
yep.
and,
And if we have to go out for RFP and
Yeah,
have you, yep.
I will just comment that it's probably for the best that the bus contract goes a long time.
Yeah, you're right.
I often regale the folks who weren't on the board when this happened of the exciting story about how we got ripped off by our bus vendor because we sent it back out to bid after their first bid and they came back like 300 grand higher. So these people are already ripping us off.
Yeah. So just leave it there.
It's better to lock them into the rip-off price
Yeah,
than it is to let them do any more damage.
fair enough. Go ahead, Glenn.
Jeff was first.
Yeah, you can go ahead. Glenn.
Okay,
You're on
I
that
didn't
side.
see you, I'm sorry.
In regards to that, is there any type of performance agreement for the busing, like to get kids to school on time?
or pick them up on time.
Can we?
I can say this, we work very well with the bus company. We actually had this conversation at admin today. Our rep from the bus company works really hard. She alters everything we've asked. She's really on top of trying to make things better, to get kids to and from school. And when there's any change that has to be made, she is right on top of it. And I know it's frustrating. And a lot of the issues about some of the delays and the lags are, honestly, with the new construction at the high school and with waiting for the Oliver Wolcott Tech kids to get over, you can't cut the bus in front anymore because of the construction. You have to actually go around. So there's a lag. And once there's a lag at the first stop, obviously, by the time you get to the last stop, right, it's even more. So it's frustrating, and they're well aware of it. They're really working with us. If they weren't, to your point, Glenn, I would 100% say at this table and have no problem sharing it with everyone that, they're not living up to their end of the bargain. But they really are. She is right on top of it. They're trying. Anytime one of our admins have called them, they've jumped through hoops to get the change made. So they're really working with us as a partner. And they really care about, student safety and getting students to and from school. And while we agree it's not, ideal in terms of time sometimes, but there's other factors as well. It's not just the one factor of construction at the high school. It's other factors of if they had, for example, a paraprofessional on the bus for certain needs, have to be there. By the time they loop back around and drop that para off and then get back in the run, that also is a lag in time. So they're working with ways to make that better, but realizing, we have to address all needs, and it's sometimes harder. And when we understand it's 15 minutes maybe, or 20 minutes or 30, it's frustrating and it's upsetting, but I can tell you they share the frustration and they're upset as well. I mean, when we don't get bus all clear calls till 5:18 in the evening, we feel it, but I can tell you they feel it with us. So it's really not a lack of effort on their part. And if it were, I'd have no issue saying it, but they are doing everything they can. And I mean, short of going out, and they have been out several times to just try to revamp even routes. It's just, while we save 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, that's a lot. People don't realize, it's tight, well, 20 beats 30, and I think that's the sad reality of it. And I feel terrible. I mean, we just had the conversation. I look at Miriam, we literally had the conversation this morning, and no one around the table said they weren't being responsive. If they were, it would have been a different conversation. So I hear you, and I understand it's frustrating, and I understand it's upsetting, but they're really trying everything they can. And remember, they're, knock on wood, their workforce is better than most. When they're short, sometimes the person who's our main contact, she's out driving the most as well. So, she's really trying, and I just find it, I'm upset, and just as everyone else is around the table, but they're really working with us as a partner. They have not left us high and dry. I can't,
So is that level of, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, finish.
Is that level of frustration, or understanding shared throughout the district? Or is it, my one concern is, one, I don't want these bus drivers to feel overpressured and start rushing and being haphazard. Two, what I hear back is like a lot of teachers saying, well, this sucks, I have to stay later for these kids not getting to school on time, or they missed half of their first period because they didn't get there. The kids are missing school time. At what point do we say we got to do something different?
Well, I think, I haven't heard that as a glaring overall concern of necessarily missed time in the first period all the time. I mean, if that were the case, there would definitely be different conversations. So I haven't heard that from the admin team as well. I mean, our issues are more at the end of the day. It's the pickup to take the children home. It seems as in the morning, and that makes sense, right? Because we're not dealing with any construction barriers in the morning. We're just dealing with natural, street traffic, so to speak. But at the end of the day is really where the frustration has come up. And I share in that frustration. The administrators, we had a long conversation today, but, short of them trying to put 3 or 4 more buses, but the issue, that's not the simple fix either, because people say, just put the Oliver Wilkins students on one bus. Well, that's great, but that one bus then would be making 37 stops, and that would delay us anyway, getting that bus back in the route. So the process of going to the high school and dispersing the students there just helps with the routes. So they've looked at so many different ways to do it. And, I sat on meetings with them too, and it's just, right now it's the best. I will say the shaving of 10 minutes, while, people might say, 10 minutes isn't a lot.
Well, it's a big deal.
20 beats 30 is all I could say. And we're going to try to get better. I mean, I think, they're trying as well. I think they'd like to get it to 15, but we'll see.
Jason, because we're on the topic of that, and then Jeff, go ahead.
I could speaking just for the middle school, the morning, we have kind of a stopgap morning with an advisory / homeroom type time. So we're supposed to be getting 15 minutes with the advisory homeroom time. We may be getting 12 or 10, maybe even 8 minutes. So we have that barrier there. We're not running into the first academic period. And then as far as the end of the day, the people staying after, those are the paraprofessionals or the admin who are staying. It's not the teachers who are staying. But like today, I think the middle school, they were still calling at 3:15 for buses to dismiss from the cafeteria. And dismissal starts at 2:40.
Yeah,
So
it's-
they're,
yeah,
the kids are going down
they're-
to, we're not calling them holding centers anymore, we're calling them welcome centers.
Yeah.
Welcome
I like that
centers.
better.
I like that.
They're not, no, they're not corralling. Welcoming center, so at a point where teachers are no longer contractually on duty, there are people who are contractually on duty that are then monitoring those students in areas, waiting for the buses to arrive and then being dismissed. So that is the part where it's taking quite a bit of time. The after school is more impacted. But those people are contractually on duty anyways.
Two things. Scott, the landscaping contract, is it shifted a year to the right maybe? Because this year's budget amount shows the 22-23 payment.
Maybe I might have, but,
Does that mean
I'll
that the
have to check
contract
it
goes
again.
until 25-26 then? Or 26?
oh, no, I think the landscaping is right. Last year we entered into it, this is the second year, and next year's the third year, a 3-year contract. I think that's right.
Because the 198 is the 22-23 number, that was budgeted this year. Not a big deal, just in case they were asking about the
Yeah.
contract.
I'll double check, but
Glenn's looking at the contract here.
While Glenn does his contract reading out, maybe I'll go with my next one.
So the 23 April
November is 210.
was
Oh, it
210.
says
Oh, okay.
198 for contract of year April 1.
okay.
198 for 23.
Oh, so April, so
April
November
to November
ended,
was 198.
so they wait till November, then that's what Ed was saying earlier.
So we're gonna get a bill for another 210 then.
In November, no, next
April
November.
1,
7 months.
Goes April through
23 to
November.
24.
So they're charging us half of it.
No, it's, their contract year is April to November.
1 to November.
They're on a weird year,
Yeah.
but
Because of
April,
when their
That's what
services are
you said,
needed.
Ed.
because they don't provide the services over the winter.
So when do we pay them though? 'Cause it's expended
So
our budget
April
for
to
this year.
November, meaning the 22-23 198, that's November of 23. We will pay the 198 at the end of the performance of the contract if what they just said is correct.
Yes.
Right.
It's going from April of 23 to November, the end of
Yeah,
November of
this-
23.
I think there's a mistake in this.
November 23.
That's what it says there. There's a
Right,
mistake.
is
in the
198.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's not,
No, that's right.
that's not
Yeah,
mistaken.
'cause
They
this
don't
is
provide
November
services in the
23,
winter.
So now the next
Understood.
won't kick in
But it
until
says
April
Her-
20.
His payments are from April 1 to November,
Mhm.
Yeah.
right? So the first year it says April 2023 to November of 2023.
Yeah.
The second year says April 2023 to November of 2024.
Oh, so it's
For
a typo.
210. So
Typo.
there's a
It's
typo
April
on there.
2024 to
And
November
then the
2024.
last one
It's a
is,
typo.
unless it's a 4-year contract,
And then that
for
one
2
says-
years at that price? I don't know. You guys gotta figure it out.
Yeah.
But we have the right amount
Paid
budgeted for this
twice
year.
from
Well,
April.
no,
it's a
if
3-year
if they
contract.
start in April, they must want another
April 1,
payment in April.
2023, terminating November of 2025.
Well,
It
we'll
looks
pay
like
him
it-
whatever the
Right,
contract
but it's
says.
gotta be a
Yeah,
typo.
Or
This is
when.
totally wrong.
Yeah, we're 100%
But
budgeted.
this fiscal year, we're budgeted, yeah.
The contract has a typo in it. It's all wrong. The
Well-
dates are wrong.
That's,
Well, because it
That's
ends
one
in
of the
November.
Remember, this fiscal
It's
year,
our-
right. They already
It's
billed
their
us.
22-23 year. It's our 23-24 year.
Right, we're paying at the end of the contract. The problem is the services, I think where you're getting mixed up is the services started last fiscal year for us,
So it ends in November.
but we don't pay till the end of the performance of the service.
So then to Glenn, we are actually paying them at the very end then. rather
Correct,
than the
is
beginning.
what it
Yes.
sounds like, yeah.
Yes.
It's only 7 months, April to November.
You see where I'm
Yes.
confused on this?
Yes,
Yeah, 'cause
but,
it
but
sounds-
that- what you
That's
just
when
said is
their
right.
services are.
Right, we're paying at the end, so
So they do
the,
the entire year and don't charge us until the end.
well, they're supposedly supposed to bill us 3
Three
times.
times.
But the
Three
point
times.
is, yeah, the ultimate payment amount that you asked about is right in
Okay.
the
Right,
budget.
in the,
All
right.
right.
Well, and to that point, even the 3 times, that would actually make sense if I may, I'm sorry.
no, absolutely.
Because
Please clarify.
If the next year wouldn't, our year wouldn't start till July for the following budgetary, so unless he would get a July payment, August payment, November, I mean, it doesn't
Maybe
make a
that
difference,
way.
we could do that either way, but then it's the same
I see.
rather than waiting till November at that point, right?
Because what you're saying is that
Well, the first
contract
payment's
goes
supposed to
to
be
the
paid in July.
25-26 school year.
No,
As a courtesy, they're
24,
holding off
25,
billing
yeah.
us for budgetary
No,
purposes.
the money
That's
wasn't
what it seems
withheld
like. They're not
from
billing us until July because they realize our,
April
they're
1st,
starting
so
in
it's
April,
supposed to
but
be
they're
April
holding
1st of
a bill until
2025 to
July for
November
budget
30th,
purposes.
Well,
2025. November 30th.
we probably just
is
told him
25,
Okay,
26.
back to the
Right.
meeting, back to
Yeah,
the
because-
meeting.
Our 24,
Too
25.
many
Payment.
conversations
I'll bring my
going on.
laptop.
Whoever's on the phone can't hear. Thank you.
All right. So,
One conversation. Go ahead, finish.
so my second question is, or actually is the buses. The bus contract has historically, when we looked at it, is based a price per bus per year. So we have to look at this as a board in 25-20, for the 25-26, when you have both the new high school and middle school operating, the board will have to make some decisions on how that busing is going to occur and what's happening to all the schools. There'll be a lot of efficiencies that can be gained or lost in
Well,
some of the
that's what
decisions we're
part
gonna
of the
make.
discussions will be for the ad hoc
Yeah.
committee that's set up to
But-
look at the districting.
Just that number doesn't have to be this number. It could be less or it could be more because the contract is based on the number of tier 3 buses we have, which is our elementary school.
But we can't modify this contract in the middle of it.
That's just the number based on the number of buses that we are currently allocated.
Right.
Which is
could-
like 57 tier 3 buses.
We could modify it in conjunction with our contractor, right? If both parties
Right.
agree, and they've been good about it before. As I recall, we have modified contracts with them midterm before, when we, I don't want to say caught them, we discovered that we were dropping off every student at their house
Mhm.
Right.
and made them go back to the bus stop model and shaved like 12 or 15 buses off. And they were very accommodating because we
To do
own the
that.
buses.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
just operate them. We buy the fuel and we own the
So we
bus.
can, we can look at that when the time comes, but they're okay with ultimately
They have,
Contract.
modifying an existing
It
contract.
used to be because it was written per
They've
bus.
been good,
Yeah.
so, in my
and
experience.
it also depends on the number of propane buses too. That brings it down. If they get more
Yeah.
or whatever, and we're in discussions with them all the time, or have been in the past.
They were very good
In
the
that
last
regard,
time we
yeah,
talked to them.
yeah.
What I recall.
They were very helpful when we redistrict and got all the bus routes.
The only bad thing they've ever done to us was up the bid price when we sent it back out to bid. They're otherwise very helpful and
Yeah, it sounds like
accommodating.
they've been very helpful in working with
they
this,
were.
and it's, I don't, like you said, it's not the bus company at all. It's the construction throughout town, and it's our building project. You can't get through the south end without, in a double lane, it's all one lane,
Yeah,
right, all the way down South Main Street.
And it's also-
we have so many stops down that way.
and also the parent that comes out and starts talking to the bus driver and,
Mhm.
trying to get the child off the bus that's in the back seat and stuff like that.
All right, anything else on contracts? The SRO update, so you confirmed that they billed us for SROs at the middle school for 2 or 3 years, and we did not have them there that whole time, right?
If you look at the next sheet,
Which one?
yes, so
The expense,
this is serving two purposes.
that one.
The budget report?
Yeah, so this is two purposes. So first, this is where I think we're gonna finally end the year. Now that, we've gotten a couple invoices, and I think the comptroller's leaving, so I don't think we should see any more. But what I did is I have the, or we're not gonna accept anymore. So the SROs, and I put the dates, so David Cooper is now retired, he was at the high school, September to December. Jason McIntyre, the high school from January to June. And then James Foley was at the middle school from September to June, the full year. So that's one of the invoices for 84. And the second invoice from 21-22 just gives zero detail. It's
Now,
just an invoice.
Can they bill us for, let me back up. Did they already bill us for this, or was our first invoice date 8/28/23? Because
Say that again?
if the services were 21-22, but they didn't bill us until August of 23.
Yeah, I know where you're getting. I think they caught it and figured out that we didn't pay him, and that's
Well, they
why.
didn't bill us, so can
Yes,
they legally
yes.
bill us after 2 years after the fact? Yes, some are saying yes, some are saying no. We're
I
not,
don't, I
I'm not
would,
asking Ellen, I'm asking Scott.
I don't know the legal definition, but of course, it's a service rendered, you owe for it.
Well, I think I have maybe a different, slightly reworded version of the question, if you would. If, say, a vendor that isn't the Torrington Police Department decides to bill the Torrington Board of Education in its 2023-2024 fiscal year for services ostensibly rendered in the 2021-2022 fiscal year, would we pay that invoice? And if so, from what money?
That's subjective, because we would, I would recommend paying it or not paying it, based on the work they did for us and the relationship we have with the vendor. So if it was a fly-by-night vendor or something, I might say, no, we're not paying. Can't send me an invoice 18 months later, but if it's somebody we work with all the time, but I would also have a consensus on that. I just wouldn't, depending on the dollar value, I wouldn't just make that.
And it would
So-
come out of, and
arbitrarily.
it would come out of funds that are budgeted for not that in this fiscal year
Yes,
then.
we would have to find the funds in the current year budget.
I think the city should pay its police officers then.
Right. That's where I was gonna say, the city already paid the police officers, right? They've been
Right.
paid.
Oh, yeah, they
So-
don't work unless they get paid.
Right, they've already been paid. If their bookkeeping, so let's
There
flip
might
it,
be a
if it was the
contract
other way
somewhere,
around.
though. I'll have to look for it.
Okay.
If you can find a contract, then please,
Yeah,
yeah.
I definitely have an MOU for current year 23 that's sitting on my desk, but I'll see if
I mean, it's
there's
a lot of money
contract.
that we're, I mean, not a lot, but it is I mean, if you look
I
at it, when we have none, it's a lot. And
I
it's also the fact that it's being taken from the money, the surplus that we saved in order to do things for the students. I just am not comfortable saying, okay, go ahead and pay it without putting up a fight to get some of that money back. Because it's the benefit, it's not, and they've been paid, so we're not shorting the police department. They also got more money than us in their budget, so and I will keep saying that over and over again until nobody wants to hear it anymore, I guess. But I don't think that we should pay it if we don't absolutely have to, not yet. Actually, forget it, because she's just gonna withhold the money. So
And
it
it's
doesn't
gonna
matter,
cause- it's
we're
gonna
just gonna get the money.
Who's gonna withhold what money?
This is our surplus.
Oh, that's what they wanted out of?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're
The sur-
taking it from our surplus.
I don't care. The surplus is theirs by right anyway. If the
Well-
city wants to shave money off the surplus and pretend it's ripping off the Board of Ed, they go right ahead. It's their money. Right, legally, when we turn a surplus over to the city, I'm sorry, Jason.
Did we
Legally,
turn-
when we turn a surplus over to the city, it's theirs. And if they want to say, well, we're going to pay the police department $42,374.84 out of that $52,000 surplus, okay, fine. It's their money anyway. As long as we don't have to take money out of our
We
operating
don't have to
budget.
take money out of our
Well,
operating
let me-
budget.
let me
It's coming
just-
from
so-
surplus.
By, those come out of the surplus to get us to the 52. So we were actually, our surplus, our projected surplus was like 219 minus the, so
I'm sorry.
Go
So
ahead.
Scott
No,
and
I
I
just wanna-
discussed, no,
I just-
so Scott and I discussed this, so I'll take this one. That's fine. Because there's a couple of schools of thought on that, right? The bill came in technically under this fiscal year. However, services were rendered for past. The surplus that we're talking about was from past fiscal. So it makes sense from just a budgeting auditing standpoint to take it from there. So when Scott and I had that conversation, that makes sense. So we're not chasing 81 or 42 extra $1,000 this year to put us further back to your earlier
Okay,
point.
it's coming from the
It's coming
surplus from
from
last
the
year.
surplus
anyway.
amount. So it just, it keeps everyone in good standing and in good faith. In that, to your point, Ed, if it was just a surplus number anyway, and the invoice were to come and take it out of there, and let's say that we weren't made aware of it, from an auditing standpoint, they would have covered it because it was still under that auspice of that money. We wouldn't have been the wiser, and we would have gotten a memo back saying your surplus is now lowered by this amount from that. So the fact that we got the bill and the fact that we're being proactive in our approach to paying the bill I think just speaks volume to the fact that we're dotting our i's and crossing our t's as a team. And yes, does it hurt us in the long run? Because that's less than our capital, 100%. I mean, I'm not,
It hurts the kids, it doesn't hurt, it hurts the
I
kids.
didn't mean, that's what I meant by the us. Yes, I agree with you 100%. So, but I don't, I mean, for us not to pay it and to cause a lag or a delay and not know what this real number is, which we've been waiting for since, Scott's been working on it diligently and
Since
waiting
June.
for it.
They
Yeah,
take it
so-
anyway.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so that's all. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's how when we discussed it,
yeah.
that's why I said it made the most sense to come from there.
Jason?
Can I just ask, what was our surplus in 21-22? Because we probably gave them money in 21-22. Shouldn't it already be considered paid because they got that surplus?
Wasn't it like 556 or
It
I
was
mean, am I
significant.
looking at that the
Yeah,
wrong
it was
way?
like
That was a lot.
556
You're
or
not wrong.
something. It was
Okay.
going around my mind.
And not all of it went into
Yeah, I can
capital.
see Ed
And
sheets
not
in
all of it
front of
went
me
into
right now,
capital.
561
Oh,
or
man.
565 or something.
No, it goes to the fund balance. The city pays its bills out of the fund balance, and then it replenishes the
So
fund
we've
balance
already
at the
paid
Board of Ed surplus. That's what it does every year.
You're
It's a
not
cycle.
Ellen?
So my question is, so David Cooper was 21, no, that's 22 years. So for the 21-22 year, who is it?
I don't
They
know.
don't know, that's what he said, that was all they got.
Well, if it's just the high school, my recollection is that it would be
David.
Cooper, because I don't believe the middle school had an SRO 21-22.
Which makes sense, because if you do the 22-23
it
year,
got paid
it's
out of
like
Alliance.
40.
They broke out,
Half of it
No, I
did.
don't
they broke out, that's why I broke it out, Ellen, for the prior year, there's no breakout of it.
And this
so-
is only half of the salaries, right? We
For
split it
50%,
50-50,
yes.
yeah.
I believe
I would think David Cooper was the SRO for many years up until he retired, so the 21-22 had to be him.
because we had Officer Fox, but I believe Officer Fox, who was before
Oh, at the middle
Foley,
school.
he was prior to the 21-22 school year. I do not believe that there was an SRO in the 21-22 school year at the middle school.
Right.
So this would only be for one SRO at the high school.
Which explains why it's the half.
It's
Right.
a half,
Yeah.
42, which.
Which would be
Yeah.
right up there with his salary. Go ahead, Glenn.
Yeah, I believe the
We pay
number is
anything
right.
in
Right.
that
His
school
salary.
year, 21-22 for SRO?
No. I mean, are you asking, did we pay these?
Yeah, did we already pay for an SRO?
No,
we
they-
did
no,
not.
They're
he
saying,
checked to
and they're
make sure.
saying that there was a second one somewhere?
No, he never,
This is
Scott
for
checked,
that one.
I think last month you said we had never been billed for
Right,
the SROs.
these are legit payments,
Billed,
or these are legit bills.
right.
Well,
These are,
legit bills other than specifying who it was and the
Wow.
date of service.
Yeah, I mean,
They don't know.
it's not.
I'm just wondering if we already paid for SRO, and they thought there was someone at the middle school and they just
well,
wanted
that's
to.
what the, I mean, part of the frustration is
So you
not
checked our
knowing.
21-22 budget and we didn't pay anything.
No, I went
out of
into the
our-
line item with the city to see if we
Correct.
paid these amounts, and we have not paid these amounts.
We didn't pay anything for SRO in 21-22.
I can't say that with 100% certainty, but what I can say with 100% certainty is that we did not pay these
These
amounts.
amounts, yeah.
Yeah, it's $40,000.
So
But did we pay a different-
ultimately, our surplus is 52,422.72.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Our surplus is going to be
Yes,
hopefully
52,
52.
422,
Do you
72.
have that earmarked for something, Michael?
Well, we were,
you did-
our other surplus, we were gonna attribute to IT-related
Right.
to be determined, so.
So our IT related to be determined has taken a,
A big hit, a
Well, what I'd like to do is,
$150,000 hit.
I'd like to send this to the mayor, again, like we did. And this is the final,
Little gift.
we're in December.
Penny for
the last
thoughts.
memo we did right with the dog ear on it. And we would just use the same memo, just a different dollar amount.
Okay,
All
right.
cool. All right.
let us know, I guess. How it
Good for
goes.
me.
And then we have a budget schedule to present, right, Michael? You
So,
want to
yeah,
show us some?
absolutely. So thank you.
Mhm.
Is it?
I emailed that out and there's a copy of
Where have
it.
it? Do you have a copy?
No. Is it here?
Yeah. Oh, here
Oh,
it
there it
is.
is.
Coming around.
Here it goes.
I have a folder full today.
So thank you for the positive feedback on the budget timeline and development process. You know, while it is very aggressive, it definitely makes really good use of everyone's time. Board members, obviously, administrators and everyone in the like. It does require a lot of homework. And there's a lot of things on there that have to be done ahead of time. So while we're going to send it out and we're going to ask for feedback and ask for questions, my whole belief on that is that just speeds up the process and keeps everyone on the same page. And if there was a question that someone really had and was a burning question, it really just helps to expedite the process from the budgetary standpoint, sitting down and having the meeting. So I've used things like this similar in my previous districts, but I really am appreciative that the board was supportive when they saw it via an email. Individual, by the way, did not constitute a board meeting. That's why I sent it to you individually. Just so there's no flaw there. But I think, if everyone does do their proverbial homework when they get the document and really take their time when they're, have that ability, as opposed to hearing different opinions at the table. And of course, more questions can come when you hear something different, but to get all those questions together, that we really come, just like we do at this meeting, when we have each line item highlighted to answer why this went up. So for example, hey, why does salaries go up? Well, contractual obligations, right? Makes sense, right? But it's okay to share. And then for me, on that first page of the document that you'll see is what I always call the cheat sheet page. And that'll highlight all of the changes anyway, so that at the bare minimum, if the Cliff Notes version, if you're just looking quick when you first get the doc, you can say, okay, that line, this line, that line. And then when you have the time to really dive in and look to get those real pointed specific questions of, hey, why was there a decrease in line 5410? Great question. Here's why there was a decrease. Or, why was there an increase in contractual services? Well, Jesperson's contract went up, right? Or, the snowplow went up. So I think it really just holds all of us onto our A game. And I think it just makes the meeting so much more productive when we do get together. So we'll have all of those questions answered. We'll have the question sheet. And then by the time we come again, if there's any additional questions, that second meeting is really just, hey, are we all good? Any other questions? Let's move this thing forward and get it rocking and rolling. So I think it is just really respectful of everyone's time. And as I said, there is a lot of homework, and I get that, but there's a lot of homework on our part too.
Right.
We're not just passing it off. I mean, if you can see here, there's a lot of work we've been doing in the background already. We talked to the administrators this morning. Their first homework assignment is due this Friday. Friday, see, they know, they can quote it. They know. So once that homework comes in, the 11th or 22nd is where Scott, Stu, and I have big homework meeting with them. So a lot of things on the back end, but I think it just moves the process forward.
I just have a question. Let's see, December 18th, Board of Ed.
Correct, that's it.
December 15th to the city, it should be the 19th?
Yes.
Okay.
My apologies. I did make that edit. Thank you for emailing that to me. I didn't make it on here.
I caught the first, where it says 18th, you say 13th, and I caught that one. I just didn't realize the second one.
Yep, that's my fault. Yep, I made the edit. Yep.
Yeah.
Ed, did you have a question?
No, I was going to say the same thing.
Oh, okay,
And
just checking the dates.
that's well within the deadline, right? I don't actually know what the actual capital deadline is. Is it the 31st? Yeah. Okay.
So give us plenty of.
Yeah, we could play that.
I didn't want to hamstring us right to that date anyway.
Right.
No, that's a good idea.
So just having done this for a few years, though, so the March 18th, would that be what we used to do as public hearings?
Yes.
And that's with the board or just with you? Ms.
The
Wilson?
board, the budget, well, the whole
Budget.
board goes, but the budget committee, yes.
It's coffee and budget conversation with the budget subcommittee.
The
No,
full
the full
board
board.
usually goes to,
Right.
actually,
But
I
it's-
don't know if it's not a board meeting.
No, it's
just
always a budget
public-
meeting.
Yeah,
It's a budget because it hasn't been brought back to the full
Correct.
board yet,
Correct.
but everybody ends up being there anyway.
yes, everybody
Right,
goes.
because it's still a superintendent's budget
Correct.
until it's presented to the board, but the whole board
Coffee and treats makes everyone
participates.
happy, Jason.
I agree.
Yeah, it does.
I
I'm just
agree.
letting you know.
I agree.
We get budgets passed with coffee and
Yeah.
treats.
So we usually have 2 public meetings.
I think last year, didn't we just do one or talk about doing one because nobody ever comes?
At the secondary level, like middle school or the high school, and then at Mobile Wet Markets, that's a central location downtown. That's how they
Right,
did it in the past.
right.
Yeah, we try to spread out the days
Spread
and
out the days to give
locations.
people the opportunity to
Right.
come at different
Right.
times.
Right. But yeah, that, as I recall, the discussion last time was, I said something along the lines of what I'm about to say, which is even if they don't show up, I think it's important for us to go out of our way to create the opportunities for them
Give
to
them
show
the
up if
option.
they would like to.
I mean, and if we would like to add a secondary date, I'm not opposed to it. I just, I know with things like that, I try to made it one even because of the the attendance of all people involved. And I think once the public knows well in advance that this would be the date for it, they could certainly plan around it. But I am up for making it 2 evenings. I'm not opposed to being out 2 evenings to talk about anyone who wants to talk about budget. But
We could do the 13th, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
the 13th, that's what I was thinking too. The 13th and the 18th could be both public.
sure.
Go ahead.
I would say with Michael's organizational skills, we can stay with 1 night.
Yeah.
And do we foresee anything?
I'm not opposed to less meetings.
Yeah, I think we've done 2 in the past with, when we foresaw huge changes in the budget that were controversial, and it brought out a lot of people. Our budgets have been pretty in line with where we've been going, and it hasn't created much of a stir. So I'm thinking 1 meeting probably would be enough to go through everything, unless, and we could always change that as we're
Right.
getting into it. I
From
mean, he may throw us a curveball and.
Extra 80 million?
Yeah.
No, but I think to Ellen and Ed's point over here, if, let's just say, on the 14th, everything comes hunky-dory and it's all
We're
aces,
done.
we could say the 13th would be that public,
Just do
in
the vote,
addition,
yeah.
if you wanted, that, you know.
Or we could even do if we're gonna meet anyway, we could do half of a budget meeting, because we did
We've
pretty
done
good
that
last year.
Because
And
we
then other
start
half
with a
the public,
budget.
right.
Yeah.
Right. One thing we could do is just add a second public hearing after the city gives us our number if it's going to be a controversial budget rescission. I'm serious. I mean, it's a little bit tongue in cheek, but we're getting to the point with the way things have been where they may well hit us with a 0. We have to talk about the number of people who work for the Torrington Public Schools, right? So if we hit that point and we have to have those like really high impact discussions, then I would say we should invite the public back in. Because at that point, especially many of our employees are going to want to speak with us. So I'm okay with 1 public hearing on the schedule, as knowing that we may have to add a second one if things get a little bit
Absolutely.
dicey.
Any other questions? That was easy. Topics for future meetings, monthly financials, budget. Now it's just gonna be budget. The SRO, I don't think it's gonna, I think it's a done deal. Yeah, I don't think we have any options at this point. Unless something jumps out,
I
but
mean, it's the inquiry option, which is to not pay, but.
yeah, I'm with you, Ed.
I like to play nice
If
and
we
sad.
don't
No, of course, it makes the most sense.
So
I try.
when we say budget for a future, what do we,
I think from here on out, we're talking about the budget. I know last,
I'm just wondering what I should.
yeah, no, your
prepare or
monthly
something.
financial, the monthly financials
Yep.
Yeah.
for this year, but then I think we're gonna, if we could, use meetings, our meetings, where are we, December?
Yeah, no, there would be.
We have just the January meeting, and I think it would be, if you have something ready, Perhaps.
26th, we won't have a budget meeting before he emails it to everybody.
Yeah.
So there would be nothing without a new budget.
I remember I have to enter it all myself.
Well, so it'll be
So,
one like
yeah.
Glenn, just do a quick meeting with the monthly financials and
Yeah.
anything else that
and
comes
anything
up.
else that comes up, but I would just keep it at monthly financials for now, Scott. You don't have to come up with anything
Thank you.
else.
Yeah, everybody
You'll
should
beat up
enjoy their
enough.
Christmas break.
They're both gonna be so
The
short.
best present
Some
ever.
food and- yeah, we are.
So real time
Talk
off,
to
you're not
Gary.
stressed.
Oh, good idea. All right, so we have that. Is it comments for good of the order? Glenn,
Nice job, Sim.
Jason,
Nope, good meeting.
Mr. Wilson?
Great meeting, thank you.
Very fruitful, thank you.
Thanks, Scott, for all the legwork on the questions. Appreciate it.
Anytime.
Dean? Sandy? I'm good. Oh, good.
You got a lot done in an hour.
Did I? Oh, no, I feel like it, yeah. That's all right. Dr. Buchanan, do you want to add anything for tonight?
Thank you for having
Anybody
me.
taking?
All right. John?
I wanna leave them.
Everyone have a nice holiday. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Pass them out at PDEC tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah, take the vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nobody wants to